All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my fight prediction for this weekend's fight taking place in the UFC between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. So in the main event of UFC 328, we will see Khamzat Chimaev defend his middleweight championship against Sean Strickland in the main event of UFC 328. Now, let's start off the segment with some storylines. First storyline is, can Khamzat Chimaev continue his dominant reign in the UFC? Now, he's undefeated in his MMA career. Khamzat Chimaev is 15-0, and he is only been in 2 competitive fights since joining the UFC roster, in my opinion. Those 2 competitive fights was against Gilbert Burns, yes, and Kamaru Usman. Those are the only times I've ever seen Khamzat Chimaev in competitive fights since joining the UFC roster. So this man has been on a dominant run. Now just won the middleweight championship in his last performance in August last summer. Oh, excuse me. Allergies are bad. But getting back on track, winning his first championship fight against DDP in dominant fashion, destroyed DDP, having over 20 minutes of control time to win his first middleweight championship in his UFC career. And he wants to continue on his dominant reign in the UFC, being unbeaten, being undefeated, possibly doing the same thing to Sean Strickland this weekend in the UFC. So next storyline is, can Sean Strickland regain the middleweight title? Sean Strickland is looking to become a 2-time middleweight champion in the UFC, and if there's anybody that could pull off the upset, that knows something about pulling off upsets, it is Sean Strickland, because he pulled off that huge upset victory against Israel Adesanya back in 2023. Hell, one of the biggest UFC championship fight upsets in UFC history. And possibly we could see it be done again, with Sean Strickland sharing the octagon against a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter and Khamzat Chimaev. So we'll see how that plays out for Sean Strickland. But enough of the storylines. Let's get to the tail of the tape here. Let's start off with the challenger, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is 30-7 in his MMA career. 12 victories come away of knockout, 4 submission victories. Stands at 6'1" with a reach of 76 inches. Then I'm looking at the champion, Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev is 15-0 in his MMA career. 6 victories come away of knockout, 6 submission victories. Currently the reigning defending middleweight champion, stands at 6'2" with a reach of 75 inches. So the height and the reach is just by a slight hair. Height advantage goes in favor of the champion, but the reach advantage goes in favor of the challenger, Sean Strickland. So we'll see how that plays out in the octagon between these 2 respective fighters. Now, these are the following game plans for these fighters to follow. Starting off with the challenger, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's going to have to let his hands fly in this fight between himself and Khamzat Chimaev. He must catch Khamzat Chimaev off balance with his striking abilities when these 2 respective fighters share the octagon with each other. And honestly, I think their approach that Sean Strickland should have, he's going to have to take chances. He's going to have to gamble in there. He can't just be sitting patiently all night long for 5 championship rounds waiting for Khamzat Chimaev to make a mistake. So I think Sean Strickland should actually blitz Khamzat Chimaev, land the jab, land the right hand. The right hand is his best shot in his toolbox and his arsenal with his hands, in my opinion. Land the right hand, the hooks and the uppercut, and the inside to possibly hurt and stun the champion Khamzat Chimaev. And the straight punch right down the middle, the straight hand or the straight punch right down the middle, I think he should also aim to win the counter-punching battle as well. Because it's not impossible to land big-time strikes on Khamzat Chimaev. You've seen Gilbert Burns do that years ago when those 2 respective fighters shared the octagon with each other. Hell, you even seen Kamaru Usman start to get comfortable as the fight went on, landing some strikes on Khamzat Chimaev. So it's not impossible to make him feel like he's beatable. It's not impossible to make him feel like he's under pressure. It's not impossible to hurt Khamzat Chimaev. Anybody is beatable in the octagon. Nobody's indestructible, bulletproof. So I think Sean Strickland should have that approach, letting the hands fly, winning the counter-punch battle, and blitzing the champion Khamzat Chimaev to get him out of his comfort zone. Next, Sean Strickland has to be able to stuff the takedowns. If he cannot stuff the takedowns, it's going to be a long night in the office for him. He's got to be able to stuff the takedowns. Khamzat Chimaev is an outstanding grappler and an outstanding wrestler. So the man that Sean Strickland lost to twice in his latest middleweight championship fights, DDP, You just saw how Khamzat Chimaev made DDP look average and destroyed him on the ground with takedowns. And he has to avoid the takedowns and avoid being on the canvas as much as possible. Because if he's getting taken down, if he's on the canvas for too long, that takes away his momentum offensively, that takes away any confidence that he could possibly build for the fight. And then that can lead to Sean Strickland trying to be desperate by any means, trying to land a knockout for the victory. I don't think that's a good key ingredient for success. And last but not least, he has to be patient with his approach. Now, I just did say he cannot wait all night long to land a lucky shot. He should be blitzing, but he also should be patient in his approach. Like, he could walk down Khamzat Chimaev, be the aggressor fighting coming forward, and put the pressure on him, walk him down, but also be patient. Like, you just can't rush in. You can blitz, but be calculated. Use your MMA IQ of when to throw strikes. When should I do this? When should I counter that? When should I be alert defensively? That's what Sean Strickland needs to do and have a patient approach against Khamzat Chimaev. Everything has to be timed perfectly against Khamzat Chimaev. And we know that Sean Strickland has the conditioning to last for 5 rounds. He's one of the best conditioned fighters on the UFC roster across all division, male or female divisions. So he cannot make careless mistakes in there against Khamzat Chimaev. And I think if he follows all those game plans, he could pull off the upset. Now for the champion, Khamzat Chimaev has to land the takedowns very early on. He's an elite grappler, elite wrestler, like I just said. Once he gets a grip on his opponents, landing the takedowns, he's nearly unbeatable. And the tape shows that every time you watch Khamzat Chimaev live on pay-per-view or you go back and watch his fights, that man, once he gets a hold on you, it's over. So you got to be able to find a way to stop that, but nobody's done that just yet. So, in Khamzat Chimaev's defense, he should be landing the takedowns, and you just saw how special he is of a grappler with gaining ground control. He just shut down DDP, who was a former world champion at the time, and shut him down with a total of 21 minutes and 40 seconds of control time. So he's got to shoot for takedowns, and once you land the takedowns, once you're in having the control, you should shoot for submissions, try to gain control on the full mount, the side mount, get on top on the full mount, and land punches in the mount position to make Sean Strickland respect you. Next, he should be the aggressor. I think Khamzat Chimaev should be the aggressor in this fight between himself and Sean Strickland. And he is the best, one of the best in the sport for a reason. But when he is locked in, being the aggressor, fighting coming forward, and making his opponents fight off the back foot, retreating away from him, that's where he is in full control. That's the best version of Khamzat Chimaev. And he knows how to cut the thinking of boxing, cut the octagon off against his opponent. So I think he should do that against Sean Strickland. And last but not least, Khamzat Chimaev should let the hands fly here. Let the hands fly. Dangerous striking skills, just like Sean Strickland. He can land the jabs, the hooks, be effective, be in a counter-punching battle, or winning the counter-punching battle. And he has the ability to land significant strikes that can dramatically change the dynamics of the fight. So I think if either one of these fighters use those game plans to their advantage in the championship fight, either one of these guys could walk away with the coveted middleweight title to close out the UFC 328 pay-per-view. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev to defeat Sean Strickland by submission in the main event of UFC 328 to retain his middleweight championship. Now, this fight could go either way, and not by either Khamzat or Strickland winning. What I mean by either way is this could either be a competitive fight or this could be a one-sided fight. Either way, Khamzat Chimaev's walking out with the title to close out 328, and Khamzat Chimaev is going to put away Sean Strickland. I don't see this fight going the distance. I don't. He's either going to knock him out or submit him. And I think he's going to submit Sean Strickland. I believe that Khamzat Chimaev is one of, if not the best, overall grappler and wrestler on the UFC roster today. That's very debatable. But that's how special Khamzat Chimaev really is with his grappling skills. And he is dangerous in the grappling department for a reason. And also, he's a dangerous striker against Sean. He will be a dangerous striker against Sean Strickland. And this might be one of the best opportunities for Khamzat Chimaev to not allow Sean Strickland to get going in this fight, landing the takedowns, forcing Sean Strickland on the ground, grounding him and shutting him down, with Khamzat Chimaev taking full control of the fight, gaining ground control and control time to have his way against Sean Strickland. So I think Khamzat Chimaev will be dangerous as the fight is kept standing as well, because just like Sean Strickland, he has dangerous striking abilities, and he can honestly hurt Sean Strickland with some jabs, some hooks, and win the counter-punching battle. But he also has to be alert defensively. He also has to respect Sean Strickland's power in that octagon, because it's not impossible to see Khamzat Chimaev get dropped or stunned and hurt with some striking shots. We've seen Gilbert Burns do that against Khamzat Chimaev years ago. We've seen Kamaru Usman land some strikes on Khamzat Chimaev when they fought a few years ago. So Sean Strickland, everybody knows his best path to victory is landing the strikes to hurt Khamzat Chimaev. So he could possibly avoid, he needs to avoid the big shots from Sean Strickland that could possibly land as the fight is kept standing. But once this fight gets taken to the ground, once Khamzat Chimaev takes Sean Strickland to the ground, landing takedowns, I don't see a path to victory for Sean Strickland at that point, because you just seen Khamzat Chimaev dismantle and dominate DDP. DDP defeated Sean Strickland twice, and Khamzat Chimaev got by him with ease. Even though the fight was on the ground for most of the fight, he had over 21 minutes of control time on DDP. And I think with Khamzat Chimaev keeping the fight on the ground, he can have his way, earning time with control time, having success on the mount control, side mount, and shooting for submissions to wear down Sean Strickland, forcing a submission victory to successfully retain his middleweight championship. So that is my fight prediction for this weekend's fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland.